Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be super cool. I have a friend who is dating. Yeah, yeah, I have a friend who's dating the president of the Stonewall Democrats. So I'm gonna give it to them to raffle off.
And maybe I do need to get one. I forget
So awesome.
to look at that screen.
Sir?
Yeah, maybe before I like give it up to Stonewall Democrats, just to show it off a little bit. So you get more interested in rapping.
I know it's
Of
one
course, I
thing.
have to finish it first. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll take one of those. Thank you so much. Thank you. Ellen's looking good. Looking good there.
Thanks. I got done with this exact pattern and I decided to do it all. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, but it's also like 45% off, so like, yeah, I got some there too. I literally went into just something random and then they were closing, so I was like, well, here you go. The problem is that most of my stuff I just use acrylic, so like, I got acrylic in there, fancy, fancy.
Yeah,
Testing. There. Ready for a little community singing?
Yeah.
All right. We're going to do hymn 188 out of the Great Hymnal. Come, come, whoever you are. Once we do it a few times, we'll try to do a round. Yeah. We'll sing it through twice, and then we'll split up into groups.
Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to the Unitarian Church of Lincoln. I'm Christine Davis. My pronouns are she and her. I am your worship associate this morning. In this church, we aspire to build a loving community that joins reason with spirituality to transform ourselves and our world. When we worship together, we have the chance to deepen our connection with the sources of meaning in our lives and to say who we are and what we are about, throwing open the doors of this place to share the radical love and welcome that is at the heart of this faith. So whether this is your first time here or your 500, whether you are online or in person, if you came here hopeful or heartbroken, whatever ancestors you claim, or what body you live in, or whomever you love, you are welcome here. Judy Hart, our immediate past president, will now add her own hello and share some helpful context for this service and the ones upcoming. Thanks, Judy.
Thanks, Christine. Hello, everybody. Oh, I love that. I'm going to do it again. Good morning, everybody. Yay! I'm Judy Hart, a member of the Board of Trustees, and I want to offer my own special welcome to those of you who are visiting with us for the very first time. I have a few announcements to share as our church community extends beyond Sunday morning worship. I got so many papers up here because I want to get this right. We have a couple of guests this morning. We have artist Paris Aldrich, who is back there in the last row, and we have Dr. Lori Dance. Dr. Lori Dance is going to share her research from the Indigenous and International Displaced Persons and Communities Project. That's what's on the west wall out in the gallery, and she's here with us to talk about it today. As is Paris, his artwork is on the east. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. You read my mind. Please stay and visit with them afterwards. We might not have them every day this summer, every Sunday this summer. So please visit with them. If you are here for the first time and you'd like to informally know more about our church, you can meet with Jackie and Stephanie after the service out by the big ficus tree in the gallery. They'll be waiting. They would love to meet you. Parents and guardians, you're invited to a parents' retreat on Saturday, July 19th, starting at 10 a.m. and ending with a brunch and conversation in the gallery. Help us learn how to best support you, the parents and caregivers in our community. Our Summer Indigenous program begins today. In addition to Sunday services, there are many midweek opportunities. We're having a film night on Friday night, the 11th. We're going to show the movies. We're actually showing 3 short films. Live from the stage, where they talk about circles and how important that is in all cultures. And Seed Warriors, which was made by Rebecca Schlichting, who will be talking to us on the 3rd Sunday this month. And she's also working on a film called Walking in the Footsteps of Our Ancestors, which you'll learn more about all during this summer. Please check out all of the events that have been planned for this month in your newsletter or e-blast, or pick up a hard copy of the printed flyer after the service out there. Also, when I reached out to the Indian Center actually to get connected to Paris, and Wathena Porter, who's the executive director, when I told her that the Unitarian Church of Lincoln has had a long relationship with the Indian Center, she wants to know more about that. So there's a sign-up sheet out here on the table where Jackie's sitting. If you could just put your name and your information, your contact information. I'm going to get a group of Unitarians together to talk to Wathena so we can catch her up on what our relationship has been. So thank you all. Welcome. Thanks, Christine. Oh, the land acknowledgement. That's what I'm really here to do. Thank you. It's been 5 years since we did our deep dive into what it means to be in relationship with our Indigenous neighbors and relatives. So in 2020, we did the work of creating a land acknowledgement. I'm going to read the first part, and you can listen deeply, and then we'll all say together the second part that's up here on the slide. Beloveds, we gather today to acknowledge the land and the peoples that have called this place home for thousands of years. The Otoe-Missouria, the Omaha, Ponca, Kansa, and Pawnee have lived here at one time. Many others have visited to collect salt at the local salt basin. Niskithe, by which this area continues to be known, is the Omaha word for salt water. We thank them all for their good care of this sacred ground. We also take this opportunity to formally renounce the doctrine of discovery that paved the way for the degradation of native inhabitants and the unlawful appropriation of the land. We recognize that we continue to benefit from these past actions. Will you please join me in repeating this next part? While we cannot change the past, we are committed to right relationship with our Native neighbors. We value their contribution to our community's vitality and diversity. These are not idle words. Our commitment is to action. We pledge to show up in support of local and national policies, programs, and measures that demand redress for lands taken, that offer justice for harm committed, and that seek to promote self-determination and equity for all peoples. Thank you.
Before I light the chalice, I invite you to take a moment to center yourself. Find a comfortable place with your body and take a few deep breaths. Our chalice lighting today borrows from the words of Leslie Pole Cosbow. Spark of the universe that warmed our ancestral heart, agent of life and death, light our way as we strive to understand ourselves and our earthly home. Please rise as you are able and join in singing hymn number 40, The Morning Hangs a Signal.
Good morning. My name is, I have a special, you guys are so good. I have a special blanket for you. This is a serape, and it's blanket also, and I thought you guys might like to sit on it. Anybody else I should come and gather into my blanket? Just go down. We are so lucky today because we have a beautiful book called This Land, the History of the Land We're On. Thank you so much for suggesting that. We are very lucky. It's a beautiful new book, and I hope you all can find it at the library, like this one. Okay, what do you see in my picture here? James, what do you see in the picture? What is this? What do you see? What does anybody see?
Kite.
You see a kite? A house? People. Exactly. Hurry. Play. They're playing. It says, this is my house. I live here with my family. Now what do you see here? All kinds of people and a dog. It says, before us, another family lived here. Before that, another family lived here too. And another, and another. Now what do you see? There are more people. Yeah, and that look like turtles. Those are wigwams. And it's another kind of a house. Before our house was here, there was another family with a different kind of house, a wigwam. Can you say it with me? Wigwam? There was a whole village full of families laughing, cooking, playing. There were even annoying little brothers. Anybody have an annoying little brother? I didn't get that lucky. Okay. What is this? What do you see in this picture? What do you see? People moving. That's right. What the pictures here, do they look, how do you think, what kind of emotion is on there? They're sad.
They're being forced away, like that for longer. Henry Hudson, I know all of them.
Okay, so you definitely have some history back there. They're being forced to leave their land because there were European settlers that had arrived. And my family is part of that group. My father was born in 1912 and grew up on a farm outside of a town called Milford, which is very close to here. And that's where he grew up. So I feel this very closely. But when people came here from Europe, they forced most of those families to leave their homes. How would you feel if you had to leave your home? Feel sad, angry, right? And many people were hurt during that time, or died, or were killed. So all across the country, Native Americans had to leave everything they knew and move onto small pieces of land called reservations. Does this look like a reservation? This is a city. Let's see, what does it say about cities? Despite everything done to them, many Native American people still live in my city today, like my friend TJ. He's an Anishinaabe, and he lives with his grandma. TJ's grandma Nopo taught me that before my ancestors arrived, this land was filled with indigenous people from coast to coast. I wonder if all of them made food as good as she does. And the word Nokomis means my grandmother in Anishinaabe. Can you say Nokomis? Nokomis. Grandma. Noko taught a song to help us remember that Indigenous people have always been here. And they're still here wherever we go. Can you help me? We're going to try and sing a little bit. This land is sacred. This land is sacred. This land is living. This land is living. From the Black Hills to Pueblo Canyon. From the Black Hills to Pueblo Canyon. From the swampy bayous to the salmon swimming. From the swampy bayous to the salmon swimming. This land all has a history. This land all has a history. Oh, what are they doing?
Riding in a car.
They're riding in a car.
Road trip.
Has anybody been on a road trip? It's pretty fun. But you can learn so much when you go places. It says, now, whenever my family goes somewhere, I ask, who lived here before? The people who are living here now. That's a great question. Let's say it together. Who lived here before? Right? The people who are living here now. We can ask that any place that we go. Like here we have the Odo, Missouri, and the Lakota, Omaha. At the Grand Canyon, I learned that 8 tribes call it home. All right, help me with say these. We're going to say Havasupai, Yavapai, Paiute, Hopi, Zuni, Walpai, Alapai, Apache, Dine. Their relatives have lived here longer than anyone can remember, even the really old people. We cherish those older people and our ancestors because they have so much for us, for our hearts. Yes, there are many. So any place you go.
And the Pueblo
In-
was the very first humans to start building houses constructed out of bricks.
Oh, wow, thank you. At the Golden Gate Bridge, I learned that the Ohlone had been fishing here for thousands of years. In New York City, I learned that the Lenape were here long before all these skyscrapers. Everywhere we go, there are indigenous people to learn from. What does indigenous mean?
And then they sold it.
It means, yeah?
It means that they were before us and they are different.
Yes, they're the first peoples. That's what it means, the first people that lived in a land. That's what indigenous means. My ancestors aren't the first people that lived here, but there are people that, all kinds of people that have their original peoples here. So I keep singing. This land is sacred. This land is sacred. This land is living. This land is living. This land all has a history. This land all has a history. Even in my backyard. Even in my backyard. In Disney World, who do you think used to live there? And that, or still do? They still live there. But we think Disney World. But that's where the Seminole people live. The White House in Washington, D.C., Nacotchek, and the Piscataway. How about Mount Rushmore, where all those big heads are? That's Oseti Sakowin land. So, what are you going to help me do? What are you going to do when you leave here? What can you do? What can we all do?
Find out.
We can find a place we're in, and then we can learn more about the first people and the indigenous people that lived there and live there today. Thank you guys so much.
And I'll add my thank you to Erica. Each of us comes here with a week's worth of living. Sometimes the week fills us with joy and the urge to celebrate. Sometimes it fills us with worry, sadness, and even despair. Often it is some of both. When we gather, we have the chance to realize that we are not alone in carrying concern, and that we may bring or receive light even during dark times for us or for someone else. Both the giving and the receiving matter. Now is the time in our service for you to reflect on the week and what it has held for you. Breathe as you reflect and notice what comes to mind. One simple way to grow our caring community is to signal what we carry by speaking aloud or typing into the online chat some of the names that have come to mind for you during this reflection. Names are powerful and enough. So please type into the chat or speak into this shared space your name or the name of another you wish to lift up in sorrow, concern, or support. Marilyn.
Julie.
Diane, Julie. Brian. Jared. Jerry. Tia Epler.
The Camp Mystic Children.
The Camp Mystic Children. Hardy Home. Bren.
The people of Texas. The other 9 people with disabilities who were laid off by UNL.
John and 9 others laid off with disabilities.
Thank you.
It's getting there, John.
The people of Texas.
The people of Texas.
Our democracy right now.
Our democracy.
Our presidency.
Our presidency. Jason, anything online? Okay. Now, type into the chat or speak into this shared space your name or the name of another you wish to lift up in joy, relief, or celebration. And I'll begin with Allie and Jose.
My sisters laugh. You're just finally laughing again.
Deirdre's laugh. Clark. Woods and Emily. Sister's birthday.
I accepted and started working full-time for the first time in 3 years.
A full-time job for the first time in 3 years. No? Okay. You may be holding names you aren't ready to lift up. So let's take a time of silence for the names that are unspoken. you mind advancing the slide?
Sure.
That wasn't the slide I was looking for, but that's okay. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Angel Henzo. Thank you for having me here. I get to offer the pastoral prayer, which in consultation with Mary and others, I decided to be able to speak the Remember poem by Joy Harjo. So she's a U.S. Poet Laureate. She's a Muskogee Creek poet, very talented poet who has been writing for, I want to say, around 50 years now. And so this is one of my favorite poems, so I'm going to recite. Remember the sky that you were born under. Know each of the stars' stories. Remember the moon. Know who she is. Remember the sun's birth at dawn. That is the strongest point of time. Remember sundown and the giving away tonight. Remember your birth, how your mother struggled to give you form and breath. You are evidence of her life and her mother's and hers. Remember your father, he is your life also. Remember the earth whose skin you are, red earth, black earth, yellow earth, white earth, brown earth. We are earth. Remember the plants, trees, animal life who have all their tribes, their families, their histories too. Talk to them, listen to them. They are alive poems. Remember the wind, remember her voice. She knows the origin of this universe. Remember you are all people and all people are you. Remember, you are this universe, and this universe is you. Remember, all is in motion, is growing, is you. Remember, language comes from this. Remember, the dance language is, that life is. Remember.
The early history of the Otos and Missourias is a story of water, bodies of water they lived by, and trade dependent on water in those places. The following excerpt is one of 4 that will be shared during our services in July and comes from the website of the Oto Missouria tribe. At one time, the Otos and Missourias, along with the Winnebagos, also known as Ho-Chunks, and Iowas, were part of a single tribe that lived in the Great Lakes region of the United States. In the 16th century, the tribes separated from each other and migrated west and south, although they still lived near each other in the lower Missouri River Valley. The Otos, who call themselves Jiwire, and the Missourias, who called themselves Nutachi, were related to each other in language and customs, but they were still two distinct people. After contact by European Americans, the Oto migrated to the territory of what is now called Nebraska, settling near the Platte River. The state of Nebraska gets its name from two Oto-Missouria words, Ni, Bravka, Bravke, which mean flat water. This name came from the Platte River, which flows through our state and at some places moves so slowly and calmly that it is flat. The state of Missouri and the Missouri River are both named after the Missouria tribe, which once lived in the region and controlled traffic and trade along the Missouri River and its tributaries. Trade was a vital part of Oto and Missouria life for centuries. They traded for various goods with the Spanish, French, and Americans. All three nations courted the Otos and Missourias for exclusive trading agreements. You'll learn more about Oto-Missouria history on upcoming Sundays. Each week we take up a collection to support the work of our church and our partners in the community. We all grow from giving, whether we give through our time, our talent, or our treasure. The ushers will now pass our offering plates. Give or pass the plate as you are able. You can also give by texting UC Lincoln and the amount to 73256. UC Lincoln and the amount to 73256. The offering will now be gratefully received.
My name is Angel Hinzo, and I'm excited to be able to talk with you a bit this morning. Thank you for the invitation to speak with you today. I wrote some notes so I may be doing a mix of reading and also just talking and sharing with you. So I appreciate the opportunity to share with you some history and thoughts I have related to welcoming home our Otoe, Missouri relatives. So as mentioned before, I'm a professor at UNL, and I teach Native American history in History and Ethnic Studies department. So I'm approaching today's sermon like a teaching and learning opportunity for all of us. This is my first service, even though I have been at an event here hosted last year. And so I welcome this opportunity to, share in this space with everyone this morning. And thank you for, again, offering this up and for this opportunity to be able to, talk about these things. Since most of the time it's in a classroom, and this is a very different type of environment than in a classroom, to be able to talk and share in these ideas. So a little bit about me is I've lived in Lincoln for 2 years now. I actually moved from California. I was living in Southern California for about 5 years, and prior to that, working in Denver. So although through that time, though, I was born in Sioux City, Iowa, and I'm also a citizen of the Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska, also known as the Ho-Chunk people, which is mentioned as one of the peoples in the land acknowledgement that was recited earlier. And that's about an hour and a half north of here, closer to Iowa, so really close to driving distance to Iowa. So more about me. My parents met in the Marine Corps, and my dad stayed in for 20 years. So I grew up moving every 3 to 5 years or so. I mention this because, like many people in this world, especially today, my home was less about place and more about people. My family members and friends, a lot of times of having to learn to just be able to say goodbye when that time was up, kind of became a normal part of growing up for me. And that I would at least have my family still present. So although the place changed, the main core of my family remained the constant. And I think that's the case for many people today. Within the traditional philosophies of Native American people, specific places hold greater meaning, though. So specific places are the sites of creation, and these places, among others, hold spiritual power. And we got to see a little bit of that in the story for old ages mentioned before. That was mentioned as the importance of place to particular peoples. In Indigenous languages, the names of communities are tied to place. So this is also something that was mentioned in the histories excerpt. So for example, Omaha means going against the current or upriver people. They are most known as Omaha Nation or Omaha people. Omaha, though, is a people of a place and specifically tied to the Missouri River, right? Ho-Chunk means big voice people or old language people. And so again, telling us a little bit something about the history of that community and people who belong to that community. And then Juari-Nutachi, I was actually trying to find a little bit on the etymology, and that's what is used now when referring to our Otoe, Missouri relatives in their language, is, as mentioned in the history, Juari referred to the Otoe people, Nutachi, Missouri people, but I couldn't find a direct in English translation. But the fact that it is also the name of their languages that they speak. So perhaps in thinking about how we define community, it was tied to if you are speaking Juari, if you are speaking Nutachi, you are of that community, which is also was a common practice when thinking of people's names and how they thought of themselves and how they thought of their community. So when thinking about the importance of place for Indigenous peoples, I mentioned before that places held spiritual power, and that's a big, although, I feel like it is arguable, but for many people, especially for settlers who came, they didn't view this place as being, they weren't aware of the spiritual geography of the place. And this was a spiritual geography that indigenous peoples had mapped out and created for thousands of years and for generations upon generations of having an understanding of that spiritual geography. And for newcomers, not having a framework for that, just for not having had that length of time there. And also differing views of land and property too. And of thinking about, is place capable of holding spirit? For many settlers, for many newcomers, they didn't view the Americas, or what they thought of as the Americas, as capable of holding that in a lot of ways. They viewed it more as like property and the power of property versus like spiritual notions of these places have their own autonomous being that should be respected and held up by humans, by community members. So differing perspectives with that. Also, when thinking of the importance of place, you need to know your place if you're living on it and with it. So just the subsistence and safety purposes, if this place is the place providing all your food, if it's the place providing all your housing, and tools and all of that, then you need to understand seasons. You need to have an understanding of like how that place can support you. When is it hospitable? When is it not hospitable? And so just a lot of safety issues too regarding many of these places. And so having that knowledge and that understanding and view of place, history and memories attached to a place. So this is a place where ancestors are buried. This often, for hundreds, for thousands of years, of knowing those areas where this is our burial places. These are the important places. And, differing indigenous communities have differing views regarding that. For some communities, only certain people enter into those places. For other communities, anybody enters those places, and it's actually expected that you go there regularly to check on your peoples who've passed, to care for them. So there's a range of like different cultural practice, even amongst indigenous peoples, regarding how you treat those burial places. But I think a shared understanding is the importance of those places and of knowing where those places are, since for differing burial practices, a lot of times it was hard to identify, and also lack of attachment could result in just the destruction of those places, even in if settlers knew where they were. They didn't have the same importance to them. So the history and memories attached to that place being an aspect or power of those places to communities. And so I talk about this a lot within my classes, in that it does like give us a little bit of insight into philosophical frameworks and ideas, and also cultural tensions that would emerge over, from the 1400s on into today. There's still cultural tensions, political tensions regarding do humans have a relationship to place? What does that look like? Is it stewardship, or is place just something for accruing wealth? So those are still, those cultural perspectives still very much impact us today. And then different communities have differing philosophical views that go back generations regarding the importance of particular places. And so, knowing all of this, and something that I liked about This Land book from earlier is that was mentioned, is considering the hurt and experience that people had when being forced to leave their homelands, that have all these emotional, generational history memories that I discussed, and what it means to become a dislocated people. To also, for many Native communities, it became illegal to return. So you had to stay, in particular, in the reservation or in particular areas. And if you went off or went somewhere else, if you were viewed as, then you can be arrested. You were criminalized by U.S. government, actually. These were U.S. policies. So you became then a criminal from the perspective of the U.S. government if you did not stay within places that, for many people, was not within their homelands. There are a few communities that do have their reservations within their spiritual geographic mapping within their sacred places. So Navajo Nation is within the boundaries of their sacred place, for example. So there are some communities who have maintained like their community today within their spaces, but then you have communities like Ho-Chunk people, where although a number of people have moved back, our ancestral homeland is in what is now Wisconsin. Our place of creation is actually now known to, today it's known as Green Bay, but that's actually within the old oral traditions. That's where some of the traditions say Mauna, like the great, beyond, set people down. They set the Ho-Chunk, he set the Ho-Chunk people down. And out of that, we came out of that lake of what is now Green Bay. And so that's part of that old traditions. We can point to that and say that's where we're from, that's where we came out of. And so that's the philosophy of a number of Native people and indigenous communities of viewing that they were placed in a particular spot for a reason by something beyond like us. And so the impact of then being forced away from that, does offer like a spiritual trauma in addition to like an emotional generational experience. And so when thinking about the Ottomazooria today, they, also had that experience of dislocation and forced removal. As a Ho-Chunk person, that's part of the reason why I feel like, and as a community member, I feel like it's very important to participate in a lot of the homecoming events and a lot of the events that both the city of Lincoln, but also the Walking in the Footsteps of Our Ancestors project. And these are events that we're gonna talk about through this month, really encourage and want community members to attend and to show that support essentially for return of people, of Ottomazooria people, of Jawara and Utashi people, and say that this is a welcoming community, this is a safe space of acknowledging those histories, acknowledging those memories, and enabling those communities to reconnect to those things. And it does make a very big difference to the Ottomazooria community members, the people that I've spoken to, and kind of as related within the history that was spoken. So we're actually related communities. We're related tribes, the Ho-Chunk Winnebago people and the Ottomazooria people were at one time, a long time ago, one community. So we're like cousins. And it's really nice for me to hear that, because those community members acknowledge that. And so so when I welcome them, I think it is meaningful too. I've had some of those community members call me cousin and say, oh, you're our cousin. And so they're already building these family relationships. And I think that's something that all of us can like benefit from, and that they want to see, community support, especially when thinking about the how much like the city of Lincoln, the United States, and people themselves have not for years necessarily welcomed Ottomazooria people here. And so it is very meaningful to be able to do that today, and of being able to assist in reclaiming of histories, reclaiming of culture is very meaningful. And it does create a relationship for all of us to be able to do that. And so, because a lot of this, as mentioned by one of the speakers too, a lot of this history isn't that far from us today. And kind of as mentioned before, in the joys and sorrows, we're in this cultural moment and political time where we need to show up for each other. And this is just another way to be able to like show up for community members that through time were against a lot of obstacles and a lot of odds. I relate in knowing some of the family histories or hearing about family histories of removal as an adult. So I didn't grow up hearing much about this, but I do want to share really briefly that when I did talk to my great uncle, Gerben Earth, I was probably in my early 20s. He told me that growing up, he heard stories of people being forced out. So those would have been, I believe, his grandparents. So about 4 generations back from me. And he said one of the things that they told him when he was little that he grew up hearing is that they had no food. So that was one thing that happened with Ho-Chunk people, is that there were more people than supplies. And so people had been forced into what is now South Dakota. And so you had people sick. You had a number of people who had already passed. Some people weren't able to bury the people who had passed. And then you had malnourishment happening. And so one of the strategies that people actually did is they would go behind the horses of the U.S. soldiers and pick through the manure. And they would find the corn, the undigested corn, and they would wash it, they would recook it, and they would eat that. And that's how they survived. And so I had never heard that story before. I think it's very important to remember the things that are, if they hadn't done that, I wouldn't be here today. Like, that was what they did in order to survive such a hard, difficult time. And I'm also thankful for them having done that. And it's hard for me to conceptualize having to do that too. But that's how people survive, that's how people managed, or that was one way. And many people have their differing stories of that. Some people survived by running away. And so, and just finding other ways so they wouldn't have to do that. So there was lots of stories like that. And so I wanted to share that with all of you. One of the things that I say to a lot of, in thinking of these stories is that, we can't choose our families, past or present, but we can think about our actions today and what kind of future we want to build. That's actually something I talk to my students about, because we can't choose. That's just the cards we're dealt. But we can think about what we want to do for each other, what we want to do for empathy, what we want our community to look like, how we can best serve our community. And so that's something that I like to, I hope to leave with students. So thank you for listening and for, again, inviting me here. And I look forward to sharing a bit more about some of these events that you are all invited to participate in if you would like. Thank you.
Lots to think about. Please rise if you're able to sing hymn 65, The Sweet June Days.
Sweet June days are
I want to, this is probably something that you'll see a lot of. I actually think it's in your newsletter. But I really encourage you to take a look at the Walking in the Footsteps of Our Ancestors page. There's a lot of ways to be involved. So there's the Oto, Missouri Homecoming Celebration, which is September 19th to 21st. And I'm sure that that will also be something showing up within your newsletter. If you're more of like wanting to learn more and about the community today, I know that you have invited speakers this month, but there's also a podcast. And I've heard people say they like it. So if you like to kind of put something on while you're washing dishes to like learn more about communities today, you know, I encourage you to check out the podcast. And there's also a garden. And one of the things is, this is the Oto, Missouri garden at Prairie Pines Nature Preserve. And it's named the Sarah Grace Hudson and George Cahiga Garden, who are important community members to the Oto community. And one of the realities is Oto folks aren't here to care for this, so it's all Lincoln people. It's all local people who are caring for their garden until they can come back for homecoming. And I think every now and then there's a few students who are coming to check on it and everything, but they're in need of volunteers. And so if you're interested in volunteering or know any youth who want to volunteer, I know we're out there maybe every Saturday. Next Saturday is a community garden day, doing things like weeding, so it is like that. But if you just want to come and look too, that's completely fine if you just kind of want to see, because also you get to see it's actually really cute. There's like a lot of butterflies out there right now and caterpillars. And so if you kind of just want to enjoy the space and support in that way, because really from an Indigenous framework, doing that, even showing up for the plants, is you're giving them love. If you can talk to them, you're actually building that relationship to them, and you are still like communing with them, and that's work, you know, and energy, and it's something that Indigenous peoples have done, like as traditional ways of caring for plants and caring for the earth. It's something that people did. So even if you don't feel like you could maybe weed for very much, being there to like be with the space is also meaningful and helps with the plants. And again, shows that you're caring for that area in support of the, you know, Oto, Missouri people. Since all those plants too, you can also learn about those plants being there at the garden because they're all had Indigenous uses for not only Oto, Missouri people, but many of the communities here. Like many of those plants were the ones that like my community also used. So you can learn a little bit about some of those uses if so interested. And so the Tom Lynch is kind of the volunteer organizer, and his information is on the Walking in the Footsteps of Our Ancestors page. And then lastly, and this kind of very much falls into what we were talking about before, is thinking about a place-based future. So what would it look like to think of ourselves as guests, as being in relation to this land, wanting to have it be there for future generations, since that was something that was done years ago by, you know, people before us, is wanting to keep this place for the future. And so what would it look like to be able to do that and to support each other along the way? So thank you again and for having me.
Go in peace.
you like them all, it's got much more flavor.
I like light beers, but even so it was.
I hear you. Yeah. That's really good.
And you know, I speak Philippine Francais, so, and they really appreciate it. Well, my dad was like, that was definitely and one of the big things I wonder, I think just being out all the time, is that, you know, like here, I've been out a couple times, and people give you your ticket, and they want you to see them,
Good morning. How you doing? You're on, stay like you're on. That's about all you can hope for.
You gotta work, get out of here.
We did, but other things have just gotten migrated here, that was I'll go back. I want to talk to you. Okay.
At some point, I'd like to in Jim's way here.
My family wants to go to Florida, so that might be all the trips I can do.
Oh, it's one of the things.
Let's just say it's not gonna happen,
I'd like to know.
but it could happen. We have a friend in Rochester, Dixie's kids are on the
Right.
We're trying to make a bridge.
That's okay. I like it. It wasn't much.
That's good. We won't hold you.
I did. I haven't got a movie yet. It's a documentary. On my list to see.
Except this time. I'm becoming a movie exec.
I guess my
So, otherwise, especially my age,
funding pressure.
after seeing the life, it's still important. And I'm like, let's space this out a little bit. So,
When I get back.
How great you too. See ya.
and there's gonna be some things that are coming up that are like, exactly. But there were a lot of things. We're gonna send them to another home where we can actually have our fun that we don't need for. The board always. We're the authority and we like the sledgehammer. So I'm like, really don't want us to do this one. Right.
I got the impression it was
Cool, yeah. Well, thanks, sir.
Yeah, no,
we already have like the first Sunday of the church here, right?
For some reason, they're going to this rally instead. So take it up to the
Sense of how coming up, but try and get them to engage.
So actually, we've only had exec first Monday and Tuesday. We're getting there.
Then I came back and I did at church. And then, hey Mark, how are you? Good. Hey, I gotta introduce somebody. Still, but I hand rushed landing up there in the stair. Because I ran out of spring. Well, then I also, with that account, a lot of this are small rock pieces.
If you want to put in that folder, I just linked to it. Okay, sounds good.
8 o'clock. Sounds good, 8 o'clock.
Well, what I'll do right now is I will share the July one, because I do have a two on, so I'll share the upper,
Might work to have one of those. You've got a land side, to hold the thing up and drill the holes all the way through. And then on this side, I got like a, you got to talk to. I got my grinder piece we need to take right off. And then that might be, I'll put another one on my car. Because one bolt will have the hex set and the ratchet set, and the other bolt through the thing is a Phillips set. Did you have fun?
So
chicken soup for all that.
Well, are you ready for some treats?
Okay, of course.
Let me just hand this off.
I gotta give you birthday hug.
Oil line and everything.
I've been cooking quite a bit, not all the time. It's, you know, something. Here I am. I'm good. You know, I kind of, you know how you say, totally focused on something. I let my focus go. And it's like trying to get focused back on it. It's like, do I want it?
Signed up for a couple. I need to contact them.
Well, I think we go with me. Oh, you don't travel with me, but we can go. I need to travel with you. That's my retreat space. It's like, and I said to Erica, no, you don't want to see the point. It's my thing. I drove from here to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Joella Bolsey. And I, well, and I said to them, no, I said, you know, they said, why aren't you talking to us? And I said, I really want to talk to you. For some reason, they wanted me. It was like, I'm just taking you there. Oh my God, that was hard. I mean, talk about some talkers. Some Joella.
This is gonna be our week problem.
But yeah, they were about to back. Thank you. You did a great job. But let's keep it on your calendar. I'm going on the 18th. I am going to go to Oklahoma City on Monday to go to the first American Museum. It's only an hour and a half from the season. And then we can do everything together. We can go to I meant La Quinta. Yes. Red Rock. It's about $400. I'm staying Friday, Saturday, Sunday at 3 nights. And has breakfast.
I'm not gonna say anywhere it doesn't have rain. So. Yes, yeah, I don't care about swimming pool.
And I'll send it to the Flatwater folks too at the same time.
These, they don't make sense very bad. And I'm always simply. No, there is no switch.
So,
Yes. Katie and Chris.
story for next week.
So that would be.
Angel, thank you so much. This was just
Are you
good.
putting onions in your
I am. I didn't know about that. Oh, okay. How many plants are there? There's a lot of difference.
Yeah. And I'm going to, we have these beautiful summer squash that are coming from the garden.
There, because I think there's even a section that they didn't plant, because they
Those all
just,
good.
they're like running out of time.
What are you
And I
drinking
think
these
that what
days?
they have is.
Are you a
Or
soda
I don't know,
person
we'll
or a
see,
tea person?
but like, I'm not a big corn and squash. Yes, the beans are coming up, so the beans are really taking off. And the squash is doing good. And I'm not a gardener, so I'm more of a city. I was totally more of a, yeah, we didn't really have much of a garden or anything, and so I'm definitely learning.
Well, I'm an Audubon person. Oh, you have to take her away.
Yeah, I don't want to interrupt you, but I do have to get my grandson.
Oh, and I have an AV meeting, so.
Okay, thank you.
It was a pleasure.
It was
Thank
nice
you so
meeting
much.
you.
I'm going to encourage you to still make it.
I'm glad. And I'm glad.
So, we're coming to have a treat. If we don't have very many people today, that's gonna be okay. Because everyone is our class. Yes, yes. Try to support her as I can. I remember going to a family reunion when my kids were little. We went out there in Lexington because my grandparents lived near Overton. Well, maybe it was Kearney in the city park. And I took a lot of these berries, which was perfect for that. And feasted. And if I'm not gonna go anywhere close to the paint, I am fine. It's a very good job. Like, they can still have a paint. The wheel. Yeah. I mean, and Diane Terry. There she is. Hi, Heather. Hi, Linda. Falling, coming to her. Get a snack. I will let her.
Oh, you're the same boat I am. We were just talking about it. I think in the olden days, you could only get them in Nebraska for about a week. And, yeah, and they were so special. They are opening.
That's true. Blueberries too. They used to be such a short season, and now it seems like we can get them year round.
I think, yeah.
trying to diversify her meal, really, and sharing. I think Williams would eat that. I have a peach tree. I have what will be 3 apple trees. I probably shouldn't have 3, but I was stressed and impulse bought this spring. I have gooseberry, black raspberry, bush cherry. They're bushes. Apparently the fruits are a little smaller. Harry has some, and he mentioned them one time, and that kind of inspired me. I just planted strawberries. My peach tree, which has been, was like the first thing I planted.
And it's producing
It has been like I don't get it every year, but this year it's got a nice crop, and it's falling over. So I have already planted its replacement.
And you have to spray yours when I had to. I graduated. No.
I mean,
Ohio State. I studied math.
I don't usually do this. I pick a little early to avoid the squirrels. So they ripen like in my sunroom.
I have a big, or a fairly big gooseberry bush. And I said to Carl, my housemate, who's now retired, so he's not there anymore, but I said, do you know when to pick gooseberries? When they're ripe? Well, the next week, the squirrels were all over that stickery plant. I mean, they were out there just on top of it. I'm sure you learned. But then,
You can pick them when they're not quite ripe. They're just a little more tart.
next time. Although I don't really mind. And I have choke cherries, probably 20 feet of choke cherries that really
Oh wow,
tall now.
nice.
I never get any berries. Somebody else gets some.
Squirrels
The
and
birds
birds.
or the squirrels or something.
I have a service berry that is probably going to be in that. I will probably never have any berries off of it, but
The berries on my service berry are right, just the baby robins are fledged, but they still have speckled grass. And you'll see it, I'm happy for them. Get the service berries.
People eat service berries?
they're basically blueberries. They're just not. I mean, they have a similar flavor. They're a similar texture, just a different actual plant. And they're much less picky about the soil, from what I understand.
Very slow.
We do have a sweet cherry tree, but I got a few last year, and this year there's just nothing. So I don't. The weather this spring was kind of weird and threw a bunch of stuff. I don't know, but I've sort of made fruits my thing because they are an investment.
They are an investment.
Mostly in time and space, but I figure in a couple years they will be something that I can share. And
My parents had two peach trees and they always had peaches.
Yep.
And they were wonderful. My mom would come over. That was just a pleasure.
That's part of why yeah, although I think we're a small group today.
I do too.
That's part of why I do strawberry peach, or not strawberry peach, peach rhubarb jam instead of strawberry rhubarb, because I've only just added the strawberries, but my peach tree is prolific.
So you have your own peach tree?
I do.
How did it turn out? Or you're looking at making it?
No, I've had one for, it was the first thing I planted.
Your strawberry or your rhubarb peach jam.
Oh, it's delicious.
Put enough sugar with anything and it's good.
Well, and that's the nice thing about the peach is the peach provides half of it just by itself.
Hey, Roger.
I don't worry too much about how thick it is. It just kind of does its thing. But I made some turnovers with some just pie crust this week, and they were delicious.
Treats?
Sure, peaches are already ripe?
Yeah, it's from last year's.
When
No,
they-
no.
I haven't heard anybody say anything about apricots.
And they're pretty good, and they're tasty?
The peaches are delicious. I do not have apricots. They're a little bit less reliable even than peaches, apparently. I don't think I have room for another peach tree. or another fruit tree. Otherwise, I'd be thinking about apricots
Otherwise,
now.
you might do it.
I might, it's true. But, you know,
Fruitification of the world.
Yes.
I have a good sized yard, but fruit trees take up a chunk.
And do you have a garden too?
Yeah, although my garden doesn't produce very much. I'm not.
Squirrels again.
Well, I've actually, just this year, I was finally able to it's mid-progress, but I've built a raised bed that is specifically sized to put a chicken coop enclosure over it.
Oh.
And I'm
Do you
hoping,
think they're gonna have chickens?
no, I'm
Oh.
hoping that I can keep the squirrels out with it. My neighbor built this whole like shed-sized chicken wire enclosure. And I said, well, that sounds like a good idea, but that's not exactly what I've been looking for. So I bought a cheapy metal frame that came with the wire mesh and
You have to kind of lift. Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta lift the second one up first, maybe. Depends which one's hooked to what.
There we go.
It wasn't designed for
Perfect.
anything. It's true.
Diane, come and get some treats.
Is that been patched?
yes.
Okay, I know we patched one way back when.
Looks very
I think within the
successful.
first year, somehow it got cut.
So who patched it? Who patched it?
I wonder how long, but they moved here from Hastings, and they do a great job. We had them do our dining room chairs at home. They reupholstered a couple of these out here, which cost as much as a new chair, but I mean, the
But
frame
they
was
fit
perfect.
in.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that frame. Let's see.
APH.
Oh, you.
I mean, God, how can we?
Sometimes those, let's see here. Cover up upholstery. And I don't have their address, but they're about like at First and A on the south
Okay.
side, the little,
I know that little
Kind of-
area.
right parking lot next to the concrete company.
Okay.
But
Well,
husband,
that's-
wife,
This
but
is
they're,
good.
they're at least my age, if not older, and I just can't imagine they're gonna keep doing it very much longer. But I really like the work they did, and they were, and you know, it's usually a month to 8 weeks sometimes, but, you know.
I love my upholstered chairs that the cat ripped up.
101 uses for a dead cat, remember?
I know.
There's also chair covers, but when my previous dogs were in sofa eating phases, sofa covers were great.
Yeah.
They have some really good ones these days.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to keep that in mind.
There's a demand.
There is.
Well, let's go around and do a little check-in. Larry, do you want to start us out?
Oh, sure. Let's see. This weekend we had Ann's children and grandchildren coming, so we got to see them all this weekend, and that was pretty nice.
And where do they live?
Brandy lives here in town with her husband and a 10-month-old.
Oh my gosh.
A lap child.
Well, yeah. So we had to pick her up on Wednesday, I think, from daycare. She running a fever, so they got her out. So we got her. They can't come back 2 days, so she'll come the next day. And all she did was cry because she didn't feel well. I don't know what it is about some kids when they get to a certain age. They're afraid of me. But not just me, it's anybody really. It's just what their parents.
Stranger danger.
Yeah, it's just weird. I mean, before that, she was okay. I could hold her and do that, but she didn't. But anyway, so Ann's son came from Anchorage, Alaska, with his family and 2 boys. And they stayed with her family, her mother here, and Ann's daughter from South Carolina.
Wow.
Came with her husband and three daughters. Identical twin girls.
And how old are they?
They're 14. The older one's 17.
And they were bored and crappy the whole time.
No, they were really excellent. All the older kids were very good.
What's he doing after?
He is an attorney. He works for the public defender's office. So sometimes they fly him out to these little villages or the Aleutians or whatever to defend somebody out there.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think he likes it up there.
Have you ever gone to Anchorage to visit him?
We did, but that was when we first moved there. We went in the end of June into July. Cool, like 50s and 60s.
Nice.
And the nights were right, 10 o'clock at night. We wanted to go to sleep. But it was cool.
That's
The
good
flowers are
experience.
just huge, you know, the petunias and the flowers get just massive. They're just really cool.
All that daylight.
Yeah.
Well, Roger, fill us in on you.
Lots of things. I guess the family's still working through the death of my father-in-law. Years ago. Yeah. He was just about to turn 78.
Have you been ill?
No, well, that was the weird thing. No, it kind of, a little bit. He'd been having, you know, it seemed like he was having some cognitive problems a little bit. He needs to get checked out. Neurology, and then went to his doctor and said, oh, he's fine. But then he had pain in his lower back. So he went to the Pain Institute. They had done a scan on him. Before he could find out the results of that, he'd kind of fallen out of his bed. And so his wife got him to the ER and said, check out his scan. And so they did a scan and found that he had brain tumor. And then, well, once they said that, then they did the whole upper body, and he had stage 4 lung cancer metastasized to the brain.
And nobody knew.
No, and you know, and then he had a tumor down by his lower spine. That was causing his back pain. Yeah, and so this was like, and he'd been kind of in trouble. And, well, he'd complained of pain, and it was really bothering him. But yeah, he just, it really wasn't caught early enough. They said we could remove the tumor, but we couldn't guarantee that his cognition. So he just decided to go into hospice, and he went pretty fast. It was really crazy. I'd never been through a hospice situation, but of course, I think, you know, if you cut off your fluids, it doesn't take a whole long time, you know. And like,
Well,
you
he
could go.
didn't cut off his fluids, did he? Or you mean
I-
IV fluids?
Yeah, no, they didn't get him. Yeah, and he was, you know, on morphine and whatever. But yeah, the hospice scenario really didn't last that long. So
How
it
many
just
days was he
caught.
in hospice?
How many? Oh, I don't know. It wasn't very long,
Wow.
really.
I'm sorry, Roger, this was who?
Father-in-law.
Oh, Papa.
So Stephanie's dad. And so it just caught everybody off guard. Kind of unexpected. It's like fast, but not like a car wreck or a heart attack. Still, you know, just, yeah. So we've been working through that and figure out things. Help.
Is your mom still alive?
Yeah. Yeah. So she's left in this big house that they live in. Yeah, it's just a lot of things
There's
to.
still gonna be things to
There's a
sort.
lot of things to work through. He had old toy tractors and cars and trucks, all kinds of stuff.
So there's stuff.
Got to deal with that. However, he did have some toys. When I was a kid, I had a toy tractor, John Deere, and this was like in the 50s, and it added 2 or 3 implements. We had more implements, so I added to my toy tractor and implement collection. It's like, Pat says, go down there and pick out anything you want.
So these cars and trucks you mentioned were toys or?
Yeah, they're toys. Yeah, different sizes, but yeah, room for them.
I think there's a good market for that.
Yeah,
So tell
yeah.
her to
Especially
be
the old
not
ones.
too, generous.
Yeah, and he's got old ones and, yeah, so he's got a bunch of stuff like that. Yeah, and then just, you know, busy with, still got a grandbaby living with us.
She's getting older and older.
Yeah, she'll be 3 in early August. And Keelan quit the Pain Institute and went back to Mazda and started selling cars, so she can actually make a decent living. Because you can. I mean, she's actually good at it. And
She
so,
would be.
yeah, no, and she likes cars.
And which dealer? Mazda? Or?
Yeah,
Oh, I thought-
Mazda.
Wasn't she like with Ford or something? Or?
Well, she was with Anderson.
Anderson, yeah.
Yeah, but Anderson owns both Ford dealerships. So that's the beauty of Anderson. They're a multi-dealership group. And she can sell used cars from any of their lots. Grand Island, Des Moines, St. Charles, here. She's got a wide,
Just look online to see
wide
what's
selection
available.
to pick from.
Good.
Yeah, and, well, it was just, she didn't mind taking a lot of time, but she didn't like working Saturdays before, but now the baby's in Omaha, dad, weekends.
Saturday.
On the whole weekend, so she thought, well, what the heck. You know, and she was working Saturdays on a part-time job anyway. She was working 50, 55 hours a week, full-time and a part-time job. And still, she'll be able to make way more money selling cars than she was working both.
It shows you we're overpaying for car loans.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, they're set up to make money, but, you know, if you.
Well, I love Ford's ads right now. They're saying you go employ your price on new cars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Which is, yeah, a little discount. Yeah. It's something. Yeah. It's something. But, yeah, so she's back doing that. And it's already, she's started off with a bang. And she's doing well. Yeah, so, and we've been playing a lot of music this spring and summer too, so. Just busy.
Skylar and her husband, are they in Wahoo?
We've been water.
Wahoo.
Yeah, yeah.
How are they doing? Did he have some health problems?
Well, he has type 1 diabetes.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's constant. But, you know, otherwise, yeah, not. But he does IT support work in General Dynamics
In Lincoln,
in Lincoln. So he has a computer.
and she's still taking care of your grandbaby.
No.
Skylar?
No, yeah, right. Yeah, but she's kind of backing off on that. That's what's making her, I think, because she does part-time work, which so far is all the energy she's had. But she does consulting work for like digital marketing, video editing, website development, and she has one client, Rose Equipment here in town. You might know Rose Equipment. Yeah.
Here's Joshua.
Sorry.
Good.
All right, man.
Unhook a chair and pull it up. Get some treats over here.
But she's, you know, she's had these health problems too. She's gotten into the Madonna long COVID program treatment.
Skylar?
They're looking at her from that perspective because they still can't figure out why she's.
Still
Her
suffering.
energy is, you know, brain fog and everything. She's not a. That's why she doesn't work full time. She just can't play.
She just doesn't have the energy
No,
for it.
no, and you know. So they've done some interesting testing already. They said her cognitive and executive functioning and other things, activities that you do, are not up to snuff with her IQ.
Well,
So they're saying, yeah, you're
I
not functioning at a level you should be.
I've seen Skylar function
Yeah,
way up there, so I can appreciate it.
But that's not been the case ever since.
COVID.
Ever since we think she had COVID. She didn't tell, but it was like it. Sure was like it. You know, it's kind of a bad case.
So she's not practicing law then?
No. She had been keeping her bar status up, but I think she's decided to drop it.
Oh, she should not do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could go back.
She
She
could
doesn't.
pick up all the CD problems.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I don't know. She doesn't want to practice. Anyway, she's involved with the liberal political party, which is a new party.
Well, as part of her consulting, she could give legal advice to,
Well,
we should have to learn that area of
Good.
IT, probably.
Yeah, she even looked at, you know, doing mediation and was gonna get trained on that. She really wants to write fiction. She's back at rewriting her first novel that she wrote. So, yeah.
So there's always a lot going on in your life.
Time to go.
Yeah, there's no laid back retirement yet.
Well, I've had a good 6 weeks so far in the summer. Went to Denver when Evan had a shoulder surgery and felt like I was really of use, which is kind of a nice way for an 83-year-old to feel. I felt like I could really help him out. Celebrated birthdays with the 2 grandchildren, because all 3 of us have birthdays in 1 week. And then this past week, or a week ago, Jennifer and Rowan and Jennifer's husband Doug came from Seattle for one of my grandniece's weddings, which was a 3-day extravaganza. So it's been a good summer. And then this week I just kind of took it easy.
So they probably didn't spend $70 million like Bezos or whatever it was. He had a 3-day extravaganza.
In Italy, I
I
think.
think that's a different scale of extravaganza.
You know,
Yes, now that's an experiment.
and an interesting aside, I saw something make, I don't know if it's true, but they made an analogy. What he spent compared to his net worth would be like us having a $250
Oh,
wedding.
yeah.
Oh my.
You know?
Yeah, like,
It's like,
Well, and then he gets the tax cut. That just irks me.
I don't know, is that a business expense?
Heather, fill us in.
It's been a relatively quiet summer. Spending a lot of time at the pool. Got a Y membership this year, so we've been exploring all of the different pools.
Do you have a preference so far?
I don't have a preference, but Cora likes the Koppel indoor pool because it's got the water track.
Oh, which one's that?
Koppel?
Where is it?
You take Nebraska Highway up to 84th and turn south.
The one down by, attached to the middle school, or the,
There's a couple of them attached to middle schools.
that's the one down,
There's Fallbrook that is also
like
attached.
more middle school, isn't it, down there? Up by Menards, south of Menards and TSC.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because the other one's up at SCO, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure which schools
Up
they're
in
attached to,
Fallbrook.
but there's at least 2 of them that are attached to schools.
So they have an indoor, like,
Yeah, it's not very big.
Yeah.
A little lazy river. They call it the aqua track. It's supposed to be for exercise, but the kids really enjoy it.
That's nice.
It's actually great unless an adult is trying to do exercise and then it's like
All these little kids are.
I watched this lady one time try to continue her, and she actually made it quite a ways, but yeah, the kids were like dodging it. Honestly, it was like
So many little dodgem cars, huh?
my dad used to swim all the time growing up, and we'd go to the pool with him sometimes. He'd always breaststroke, and he'd do tons of laps. And if the kid was in the lane, and they had lanes for swimmers for doing that, he'd plow right through them. And I remember watching him one time, and the kid got kicked in the gut because he was. It's like
He was
hey,
in the wrong lane.
This is for laps, kids. Stay out of it, you know. So,
Cora has tried a couple of times to claim a lap and say that they're going to swim back and forth, and I'm like, you do not have the focus to go just back and forth, kid. You're a mermaid. Like that is the thing. Like quite literally, it's always underwater, and they actually have a mermaid tail.
Oh.
But you can't take those to the Y, so I for their birthday I got them individual flippers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. And then this weekend we're going up to Minnesota, which I don't actually think I've been to Minnesota.
Where in Minnesota?
Well, I have a family member near Mankato.
Okay.
So we're gonna go visit her, and then we're gonna pop up to St. Paul for a day and visit Ailish,
Oh,
because
nice.
she and Cora were
'Cause they were such
buddies.
good friends.
And then I'm taking my family member, and we're gonna go to the very northwest corner and visit the Trolls.
oh, the trolls.
Yes, so there's this artist from Norway. think, a Scandinavian country who's gone all over the world creating these giant wooden trolls, mostly in wooded areas, and there's a collection of
Tacoma.
yeah,
Or
there's a
maybe that's
collection of
Seattle.
5 in Detroit Lakes,
Oh, yeah.
Minnesota.
Oh, okay.
And you go and you find each one. There's a map, and if you find each one and collect the clues will tell you where to find the golden rabbit.
Whoa. Oh, that'll be fun.
So we'll see how far we get on this adventure. But I haven't been up to that part. I think I've skimmed the bottom once or twice.
Mosquito repellent.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm on the phone.
it's on my list for sure. But no, it should be fun.
Yes.
So that's kind of the last of the adventures for the summer, and then my first thing on the schedule for the school year is July 23rd.
Really?
It's not truly for the school year, but it's marching band camp, and then they're having a parents meeting a week and a half before that. So my first thing that I have to start paying attention to is not very long from now.
So, do you have to do something with marching band camp?
I don't have to do anything with marching band camp. I do have to do the parents meeting because they want to use the projector, and they'll have public there, and it's not just teachers and students, and so I have to turn the lights on and close the curtains and make it pretty for them. But anytime there's anything that happens in the theater that is not a class, or that they need the equipment for it, I am there for that.
Yeah.
It's your job.
That is, that's it.
Where your play's gonna be?
We are doing You Can't Take It With You for our fall play.
I'm sorry, say.
You Can't Take It With You.
Okay, take it with you.
Which, by the way, these will not be released until the party the first week of August with the students. So if you know anyone at Southeast, don't tell them. The winter show, we are doing some sort of simplified version of Christmas Carol, which I have dubious thoughts about, but my director assures me she will keep it simple and she has ideas. And I have no idea what the musical will be yet. So
Is it southeast or southwest?
Southeast. Southwest is massive compared to what we do.
Yeah, it's a big, yeah.
But the part that you would appreciate is they use recorded music for their musicals, and we actually use students.
Yeah.
So it's something that all of our
opportunity.
performers are involved with. We have a really collaborative performance group.
I remember seeing Julie Anderson's daughter Meredith when they did Mary Poppins.
Yeah, I built that.
And you what?
I built that.
Oh, did you? Yeah, that was a nice.
Yeah,
set.
that was my second or third year
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
But then
Well,
they
me
had
and
the
most of the
orchestra
students,
up
but-
top too, didn't they? On that
Oh
one.
yeah, we do that for most of our shows.
Yeah. So that
Yep.
was a great performance.
Yeah.
Great show.
That was we had an outside designer for that, and she is brilliant, and I would love to work with her again. Lovely, lovely lady.
Diane?
Well, I don't have anything especially exciting to report. It's been a humid summer. And I've mostly been hanging out at home. And yeah, that's been about it.
Well, I think you should warn people about what happened to you last week.
My tick bite, it turned into an illness of some description. I don't know what kind of tick-borne disease I had. Something, they gave me an antibiotic, which cleared it, has largely cleared it. I'm not nuts about the antibiotic. I don't know why they picked that one, but it interacts with calcium, so I'm not supposed to eat any calcium.
Wow, that's unusual.
Well, and it's crazy. I mean, of all the antibiotics in the world, why pick one like that? And but anyway, doxycycline, that's what it is. I just have to change the way I eat.
I think if you space it so that your doxycycline is like an hour or two before you eat.
And that's really what I'm doing
Then you
now.
could have your milk products.
You know, I mean, I'm taking my pills in the middle of the morning and the middle of the afternoon, nowhere near, because
That
Yeah, because I eat a lot of dairy products, I really do. Ice cream,
This
yogurt,
time of year.
cream in my coffee.
And you
I
think
mean-
for, don't take this wrong, but, you know, women as they age need calcium for bones. You think that would be something they take into consideration too?
Well, you're only taking it for 7 days, so I suppose, but
Yeah.
there's
But-
so
and you
many
can- you can
antibiotics
face
out
it.
there. Why didn't they just give me a
Yeah, our
Z-Pack?
pharmacists and residents.
You know, if it works for your tick bite, just be happy.
Yes, and it did.
And you
It
can
worked
manage.
it worked almost instantly. It was one of those where I just felt better right away.
Oh, that's good.
And, yes, that was good.
Ticks are bad this year.
Well, and it's just been really bizarre to have an illness that isn't respiratory. I mean, it's just like I have never had an illness that wasn't respiratory.
Yeah.
It's like, why am I not blowing my nose? Why am I not coughing? What is this? I mean, this can't possibly be an illness. But they're totally different set of symptoms. I did eventually find the tick, which was so tiny that I needed a magnifying glass
Wow. Yeah.
to tell that it was a tick. I really was. I mean, it was so small.
Why did you even look for it?
Well, I developed a rash. And the tick was at the center of the rash. And that was my, flashing red light.
That's why you.
I mean, I had symptoms before that. The stiff neck, which I guess is a characteristic of tick-borne diseases, and chills in the night.
Well, at least you got it early, so the antibiotics are supposed to clear it up?
Well, yeah, apparently. I mean, okay, urgent care does not tell you one damn thing. I mean, it's sort of like I've been consulting Dr. Google very heavily. But,
And remember, Google doesn't have a PhD.
well, they don't, but I do know my websites. I consult Mayo and Cleveland Clinic, and, I do
good.
know what I'm.
Did you
Who's-
save the tick for testing or anything?
No, gosh, the friggin' little thing was so small that keeping
was the
track of
first,
it would have, and it looked under the magnifying glass like a wood tick.
Yeah, it was the first M-star probably. It's actually a nymph.
It was,
Larva nymph.
but it was tiny. I would have never seen it
larva.
except for that rash.
We had the exact same thing at our house with all the, I was working in an area where it must have been a new hatch, because they were like poppy seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we probably, between Karen and I, we probably picked off 12 or 15, plus some adult ones, and a couple were attached. I put them in jars of, I kept them all in a jar. In fact, I think they're still on our bathroom counter in a jar of alcohol, so.
So if you develop a rash.
Well, yeah, and then it
know.
dawned on me, so I don't know if alcohol is the best thing to put them in for further testing, because it
Oh.
might also affect, I don't know, but anyway.
Anyway, once I determined it was a tick, I just flushed it out. That was the end of it. But, like I said, if I hadn't been for that rash, I would have never found it. Although, I mean, it was just on the side of my leg. It wasn't anything, any place especially hidden. It was just not very big. And unless it had been moving, which it wasn't.
Is that Rocky Mountain fever then? Or-
That's one of the things, the two lab tests.
Lyme, yeah,
Lyme disease and
Yeah.
Rocky Mountain spotted fever
yeah.
are the two lab tests they did.
Mhm.
They came back negative.
Hmm.
But there's bunches of kinds of tick-borne diseases.
Yeah.
And I had enough symptoms that
You were treated.
I
And
was,
you feel better.
I was treated and I feel much better.
Yeah.
Yes. I even went out for a walk this morning. And I was not wiped out when I got back.
Yay.
Other than being sweaty, probably.
Yeah, well,
Better than
actually,
yesterday. Yesterday was.
Yeah.
it wasn't too bad. I was really kind of surprised. But anyway, yes, I feel like I am cured, and I have 3 more days of antibiotics, and then I can, we're gonna have to, hopefully.
Great. Good. Harry?
Let's see, went to St. Paul for a wood turning symposium, which was good, but, you watch all these guys and gals demonstrate things, and you try to, okay,
Yes,
they held
exactly.
that this way, and they did this and that, and then you try to do it, and then it kicks back anyway, and then you think, yeah. But we did see the Sinclair family and had supper with them,
Nice.
so that was cool. Maybe she was saying you're coming.
I'm
Had
coming.
you been before?
No,
No.
there was a miscommunication at some point where I wrote July and she read June.
Oh,
Um,
oops, yeah.
So then
But
we
it
had
was
to
fun
clear
seeing
that
her.
up.
Little Ailish was just focusing on her little learning tablet the whole time. You know, she would like respond, yes, no, yes.
And is Oscar
But
on a
you-
study leave?
I'm sorry?
Is Oscar on a study leave?
Well,
I
I
saw
saw
that picture.
post on that.
What
He
the
must,
deal
how could
was.
he be doing that already? But maybe he is, I don't know. But the church is amazing, you know, big, huge, all kinds of staff and people and programs going on. I mean, you know, but when you gotta, they're kind of a, I did get to meet their AV person a bit. We chatted about, and they of course looked at their AV counter, and they got, you know, twice the size of ours, if not more. It's up in their balcony. They got an organ up there too. And 3, 4 cameras. Actually, I took some pictures of the setup they have and close-up of their control box stuff. But anyway, the gal mentioned that they're known as a Unitarian church that prays, I think is how she termed it. They're more Christ-centered perhaps, or than the
Well, in the
average
olden
or
days,
normal.
they were
or-
the more Christian
Yeah.
Unitarian church. But
Yeah.
when I read about him, when I read about him when Oscar was candidating, I thought, I think they've changed. But
yeah.
you're saying yes.
And then, speaking of antibiotics, I was using a grinder with an aggressive wood blade on it called a Cutson, and I had to take the guard off. I should have just used my bigger grinder. And I'm getting this thing done flat, and then I'm looking like this as I set it down. Well, of course, instead of letting it stop all the way, chunk off the tip of my finger, a nice little chunk there, so I took a couple stitches. I had a little
Yeah, it's a little
protective thing on
shorter.
it, but it's not as tender now, but yeah, it was.
Yes,
Honey, I
and
think
the
I
end
need to
of
go to
your
urgent
finger
care.
is a touchy little place.
Yes.
That must have hurt.
But yeah, just trying to get into wood turning more and enjoying retirement. I worked at church a lot, did the gutter covers and painted the playground structure this last week.
Oh, great. Thank you.
What else? So we found Kurt and I will discuss them. We got a southwest corner of the RGL wing there, right next to the playground, which is settling. A big gap between the door frame and the brick has gotten wider since the remodeling was done. Some minor hairline cracks in the brick, and so we're,
Can we pump some sand under it?
no,
or
it's
some-
gonna take more than that, because you're talking about a whole, it's like a sidewalk.
building.
Like a phone
So,
Beyond
we'll
mud
see, but
jacking.
Yeah.
Yes, phone jacking. They're doing more.
Kurt and I met with 3 foundation companies, and if the board approves it, it's like, you know, in the high, it's $8,000, $7,500, $8,000. But they will come in and have to dig a couple holes on the south side of it, and unfortunately, we're gonna have to pull up a couple rubber mats right next to the door on that concrete pad, so they can get the devices down and underneath to raise up that corner. So that's, you know, we need to obviously get in touch with the rubber mat guy and find out the best way to do this. So we try to save whatever rock they put in. You know. So that's one more thing on the repair list, and it's just like a house. Things start going on it. Yeah, you know, appreciate those that helped for the hearing loop and
Yeah.
installation in both rooms. It's working great for me. I like it. I mean, we've had a couple people use it. I've seen. Anyway, what else? Nothing. Oh, my son-in-law had some cancer surgery, and he's at home recuperating pretty good.
Oh.
Yeah, he had a thyroid. He noticed it was hard, and went and biopsied it, and also on the back of his tongue. So they did that on July 3rd. And a liquid diet for a while.
But they think they got it all?
They think so, but obviously, he still has to do radiation, but he won't have to do chemo. So hopefully that won't affect his speech or his tongue and
This is seriously
tongue
inconvenient
movement.
place to have it.
Yeah.
Have it, any kind of
Oh, dear.
surgery. Gee.
Joshua,
Anyway,
catch us up on you.
Nothing super exciting. I've been scattered, but in the process, my life's been months of scattered. Like, I'm resetting things up. And living in a project, through projects, and stuff's starting to get to a point where I feel a lot more grounded. You know, my schedule the past month's been very chaotic. I was thinking for so many weeks I was gonna get here for a service and check out the loop and see how things are working. I just never did everything. Family stuff coming up. It's been, and I had an aunt from Wyoming who's actually the reason that I'm in this house out in Elmwood. She purchased the house and the property because she's in Wyoming. In her retirement, she started flipping houses. She was an elementary school teacher.
I love that.
I know. She was a special ed elementary school teacher for her whole career.
Oh, wow.
And then saved and moved from a little house that had this floor that was built, and she fell in love with the process. And so she started buying houses in that town and that kind of
What
flipping
town
them.
is she in?
Rawlins, Wyoming.
Okay,
Yeah. And then got the idea to buy a thing out here that I would
that you would
manage.
flip.
Yeah. And
So how's it going?
great. Yeah, really great. It's at a point where a lot of like the big outside contract stuff's done, and now it's just me doing a lot of the finished stuff.
Do you have a timeline?
Not really. Not now.
She's not pressing you?
No. Well, she's out last week. She was out out here for a whole week. She stayed with me, and she's getting older, but she wants to do so much, and she's got such a drive. We do so much cleaning, organizing, jumping from this and that, and this, and it's by the end of the summer, I hope that it's like completely done. Well, it'll never really be that done
Never be
because
totally
there's,
done.
Is it going to be
there's other
sold
projects.
or what's going to happen?
Not soon.
with-
I'll be living there for quite a while.
Oh,
And which was the huge part of the idea, because I needed something. And it's also on this large, it's a double lot, and it had like a 6-car garage that I'm using as a workshop.
so it's a good, yeah.
So yeah, so I'm also setting that up, which is also this last week's project gonna be actually stepping out of all the like disorganized. I'm gonna organize sometime to organize enough to start doing what I need to start doing. So I'm getting there. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like a good report.
Yeah. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we have 20 minutes more.
I was gonna say, well, it's been a nice meeting.
But I do think it's important for us to catch up with each other, though.
It's more like an open circle.
I'm gonna pass, yeah, it is called an open circle. I'm gonna pass around the service sign up. There's hardly any places left,
I looked, I think there's just the two.
so just see what you can do.
yeah, the last I looked, it was next Sunday, I think. was
Next
open.
Sunday and the very last one in August,
Not
right?
next Sunday. They come on next Sunday, aren't they?
I
Well,
think
but
you're
I-
alone right now.
Don't do that.
Yes, you are.
I can barely do one thing. Come
I'm
on.
out of town, I can't
Not
have
because I
it.
just did two, but Karen and I do have other plans next Sunday, so.
And I think I could probably do it. And I don't know if Shuddett's gonna be back. He's in Oregon right now.
Oh, and 8:31, you know, I've signed
I
up for
thought,
that one.
I'll just pass it around and we'll see. Usually I can pick up whatever, but in August I might be gone, so. So I can do next week, but I might prefer not to do it in August. If there's one in August. Okay, I wanna talk about that looping slide stuff that happened, Larry. When you said to Jean that if you knew how to do the looping slides that she had set up, but there was, somehow the looping slides stopped. Do you remember it was,
Today?
no, not
Oh.
today, a couple, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I don't remember much about it. It was okay today.
I
Once
want
she
to
got
tell
done.
you what happened to me at Audubon, and it's happened to me twice, where, you know, the program is going right along, and all at once, the projector stops, and the screen just turns black. But I looked at the YouTube later, and the cameras were working fine. Everything was recorded on YouTube just fine. It was just, I don't know, it wasn't even 30 seconds.
Well, I
And
remember
then
that
it
was-
would turn on again. So I'm gonna say, don't panic if suddenly it stops, you know, it's black. Just know that it's probably the projector, and I have no idea why that's happening.
That happened last Saturday for those climate people that came through town. The
Yes,
four young-looking students, but they're all professor, doctor type
Right.
PhDs.
I guess I was there for that one.
It's a certain age, everyone.
That was
I
the one
saw
I
them
was
piling
really-
out of their car, and I was wondering if they were coming to the lecture.
Yeah, yeah.
But they were like standing in the parking lot getting dressed and
Yeah.
brushing their hair.
Oh,
I was
really?
like, they must have come a distance to come attend this lecture.
Pennsylvania. They
Oh
drove
my
from
gosh.
Pennsylvania. They stopped at somebody's sister's in
Yeah, they would have had
Chicago, I
to.
forget where, but it's been they drove all the way out. They did what, three programs here in Lincoln, and
Or
then
4, I think.
they had a couple in Omaha, or maybe 4 in
Yeah.
Omaha to do, so, yeah. But
They did a
the
great
same thing
job.
happened. It went black, and the guy,
And-
oh, I didn't do that, and then it
And
came
then
on
it
again. So I don't know if
went
Sherrod did anything, or just like,
No.
it just came up.
And I that was the one I was most recently thinking about, but it's also happened to me on Audubon.
Huh.
So it's dropping the connection, probably.
It's turning off.
It's,
The lamp is turning off.
Wow.
but then
it
it's
comes
turning back on?
Yes,
That's,
within probably 30 seconds.
that's strange.
If even that much time.
Well, we should check the filters, like getting hot, you think it would hit if it got hot, you think it would automatically come up on the screen, hot something, but
Mhm.
it's an LED bulb, which shouldn't necessarily be hot either.
And it has many hours of life left. I mean, I've
Supposedly.
checked. Yeah, supposedly.
That might be worth, like, I don't even know if you can service these things, but it might be worth looking into whether or not there's any sort of service that could be done to it.
Or if you Google the
Google
brand.
expert.
Google what?
We have a Google expert over here.
Well, if you Google
We
the,
do.
I wonder if they'd have, people put notices that, well, I've had this kind of problem or whatever, there'd be some sort of
Maybe I should
not a
make,
recall.
why
from
don't I
the-
make a call to Midwest?
But if you Google
Because
the
we bought
machine
it
and
from
said,
Midwest
you know,
Sound and,
projector turning off, issues or something, whether that would bring up any information.
okay.
But it also could be the switcher.
The switcher? Talk to us.
Well, I'm saying this just because I occasionally have this issue at Southeast, is that the box that tells it where to send the signal to.
Well, there's an
Oh.
HDMI splitter up there. So the signal comes from here to the splitter, one goes to that, one goes to the TV, the monitor.
Right, but the line that comes from here to the projector, if it also blanks out the confidence monitor, that would make sense. If it's still going through the live stream, that's a completely unrelated stream. So it could be either the project. Do we know if the confidence monitor goes out?
I don't think that
That's a
was.
good question.
I don't think it was, I don't know if it was turned on for this Saturday event.
I don't think it was. I
And
didn't
I don't
turn
know if
it
your
on.
Wachiska turns it
I
on.
turned the outside one on.
So
but
yeah,
I
we,
didn't turn
like
this
for
one
sure
on.
check if we can quick peek out and see if the one in the gallery's on or
It
not.
would, if it's a straight splitter, that would tell us whether or not the signal is being dropped. If one stays active and the other one grumps, then it's not the signal,
It's the HDMI box, probably.
probably. So I do think that that's a good thing to tell Midwest Sound if we can figure out whether it's losing the signal.
Now, wait a minute.
Okay.
What I mean, I know that I know that it recorded okay. Does that help? Write down what I should tell them.
Let me think about how to actually say this
Yeah.
in words.
Okay, so it makes sense.
It would make sense,
Okay.
yes. But
Maybe
the,
you should talk to Midwest Sound.
Yeah, you might want to be in.
It's
But we
still
just
have-
said no.
I need to find out how much money we have left before we call them in on this.
fair. So, I am happy to be there if I can be, whenever,
If they come.
if they come.
But I don't think they'll be able to, well, I don't wanna,
I'm
you
not sure,
think about it a little bit.
I'm not sure they will be able to diagnose it if they don't see it.
And it's
But
so
that's happened
rare.
at least, well, is
I've
it rare
had-
though? Because we just had a,
I know, it's happened to me twice, And I wonder if that wasn't what happened with you guys.
We just need to remember
So-
to like, to help diagnose it, like I said, you know, take a quick run in the gallery, see if that monitor's on, and
You-
take a peek at that.
It's so fast.
Where is
And
that?
this lamp just turns off.
Well, but it's still a signal, is it still a signal related issue or?
Well-
Yeah, but why would the lamp turn off from the signal? That's true.
Cause it was
Well,
just black up here.
I am not 100% sure that the lamp is actually off. Because if it loses a signal, that doesn't necessarily mean that the lamp turns off. It might look like that, but unless we can actually, like, unless you are standing in exactly the right place and can see whether or not there's still any glow from the bulb, then just because it goes black doesn't necessarily mean that the bulb has turned off. It just may be projecting black because it doesn't have a signal.
Oh, that would cause it to do
Oh my
that.
God.
It could.
A signal from.
Right, so.
Yeah,
so
I don't know how
It's
it's
kind
set
of
up,
like
but
doing
it
the
seems like
AV
it ought to
mute.
be a
You can still
direct
see a
shot
light.
from the projector to the
If
screen.
you do
but
AV
it's
mute,
not.
you can still see a light inside the lens, but it's not projecting. You don't see any.
Oh,
Right.
okay, that, now I'm understanding.
So basically,
Okay.
there's just, the computer is sending a signal to a box in here that's got multiple outs. It's got one out that goes to the live stream stuff, and it's got one out that goes to the projector stuff. So it could be the box that has those outputs, maybe one of them is going bad. It could be a cable, it could be the projector, it could be any number of things. Which is why we don't wanna get too excited about any one solution until we
I
have a
certainly
little more
don't want it to be that projector, because that's thousands of dollars.
The problem is that unless we catch it at exactly the right moment, it might be really difficult to diagnose.
Right.
So here's my question. Since we know that this is a problem and it will likely get worse, what is our backup plan? Is our backup plan, if it goes and doesn't come back, to just continue the service and just not have it? Which is a totally valid option, because the only thing that's really critical there most of the time is the hymns. And we do have hymn books.
Right.
Right, and frankly, at home, I don't need those words, I can just enjoy the music.
Well, it would still go through the home. It would still go through the live
Oh,
stream.
yeah, it will, because it,
If the live stream is being
absolutely,
affected.
I looked,
Yeah.
and the YouTube was just perfectly fine, it didn't show that.
Right, so it's something between that output and the projector, and we don't know what.
Did you ever go back and look at the YouTube and there was no black out?
Right,
on
I
that?
watched the whole thing, there was no black, I mean, he said, oh, I didn't do that, and the YouTube was
So the
fine.
cameras are still feeding okay.
The
It's
whole
just-
program was fine, it was just,
Weird.
It was just on the screen.
yeah.
But we don't know. I mean, would it help us to know if this monitor up here is
It
cutting
would.
off? That'll give us a little more
Because
information.
assuming that the splitter is before it goes to the projector, if we lose both of them, then it's the signal that's going to there. If it's only one of them, then it's likely one of those components. Does that make sense?
Which would be helpful, well.
Yeah, it would be, but it would help diagnostics.
So we
for
should
sure.
Yeah.
also alert the worship committee to watch to see if
To warn them,
anything
yeah.
shows on the monitor, if,
Well, one thing
Well,
we should maybe first do is check all the connections in that box, make sure everything's in tight. Get a ladder up, make sure everything's tight up there.
Harry, are you willing to do that?
Why that would, if it wasn't tight, you'd think it'd be more commonly happen.
When
More
it happens,
regularly.
is it
And
completely random? Is it early in the one or at the end?
it was pretty early in the presentation a week ago Saturday, was the second speaker.
Yeah.
Yeah. Frankly, I can't remember on the Audubon thing. And Larry,
What?
it was the announcement slide, so that was pretty early, except we have it on quite a while ahead of time, so could have been 25,
Yeah,
45
could've been.
minutes.
Mine is school glitches like 5 minutes in every single time. So like, but this is a new thing, which is
I
problematic.
think we need to keep, when it happens, if it happens to you, write down what happened.
So as a gentle reminder that there is that report.
Yes. Yes.
That I think we've all forgotten about. That's on the, at least it was on the bookmark bar.
It still
The
is.
AV report, where you can actually like enter a thing that says how stuff went and if there were any weird problems so that we could catalog these.
My slides were.
Yeah, I think that's.
Did you do it today?
Yeah, my slides were very good. Somehow she got out of order somehow.
And so did
It's
you
of
make
particular
a report
importance when something
today?
goes wrong.
No,
You
it wasn't,
note it.
wasn't,
Yeah.
wasn't mechanical, it was them bar people.
Bar. Okay, yes, thank you, Heather. We do need to. Because then we can, if this happens, that's a good place to put it.
And I haven't, because I was trying to this was still when Bob was around, so I was trying to stay out of the problem solving. But I can set it up so that it sends me a notice whenever there's a new form submitted, if that would be useful. Because otherwise you have to go to the form to see when something is done.
I'll be here Tuesday, finishing up on the playground thing, and I'll make a note to, hopefully I'll remember to look at this, but then check the connections and stuff.
I wonder if a can of compressed air to blow in there would,
I'm sorry?
a can of compressed air to blow the dust out of that.
Yeah, that
thing.
wouldn't hurt either, probably. It wouldn't be a bad idea. I thought I tried to take the,
The
well,
lid off.
I took a vacuum at one time and I vacuumed off those little vents on both sides.
Oh, that's a good
Sometimes,
idea.
some projectors you can open it and get to it, but it didn't seem like that one will let you do that, so.
Okay, well, thank you.
Is this like when we thought we were being disconnected from the internet in the past when something went wrong with us?
No, we were really,
We really were
now
disconnected.
we're hardwired to the internet, and we really haven't had that kind of problem. If anybody signs up to do a memorial, please record the memorial service, because then if something happens, we've got backup for those precious memories. And does everybody know how to record?
Are we talking
Heather
on the
knows,
CD?
on that little CD,
Or the
SD,
SD card.
and they're on the ledge of the door.
Yes.
If you don't know, let's get together and practice it. Do you know how to reformat the SD card?
We shouldn't need to reformat, we should
You
just
don't
need
have to do
we
it
should-
too often.
We should just be able to pull the file off.
Yeah, but you do need to reformat it periodically, or you lose some integrity of the photo card. As a photographer, that's what they
Well,
recommend.
it gets
I mean,
full.
you don't have to do it too often.
At some point it fills up too,
Yeah, but
right?
they're pretty big. So Shada and I reformatted the two cards we had a week ago or so.
So is this because the family might want a copy of it, or?
Yes, and
So
it's
do
a
they-
pain in the butt when you have to have Linda Egger come in with her phone mid-memorial service because something's happened and you have lost the internet. So that's why I'm saying, I mean, we don't have that many memorial services.
Should we be asking if they want it recorded first?
No, just do it. And that means you have to push the record button. And maybe we should practice doing this with some services.
We used to do it all the time when we started. That's
Just
what
so
Bob taught us.
so we get used to it. But, you know, Shada and I were gonna record the last time. We totally intended to do it. Did we? No.
Yeah, there's so many
But
little
on the other
things.
hand,
that
There's
you
a
gotta-
lot of little details.
Yeah.
if they are YouTubing it, there's no need to record it. The family can go on YouTube and pick it up and watch it, right?
But if we record it, then if something happens, we have a backup, Gary. That's what I'm recommending.
Okay.
And I'm real serious about it because that's happened to me. Okay, we need to move play this. Harry, I'm a new person to this church. My hearing isn't so good.
So Jean,
What do you have here to help me out?
Jean forgot this today, but she's, hopefully will have a, part of the announcement slide, we'll have a slide up there also about being able to check out something if they have it. Even, you know, people come in, they don't see the signs or pay attention, they don't notice that. I go to other places and I walk in and I've trained myself now to try to look for that sign, but if you don't look for it,
Now, what's
you're
the
not gonna
sign?
necessarily see it.
Oh,
So,
that's on.
Hearing loop.
yeah,
Okay,
and there's one at both entry hallways.
okay.
So there is a little card in here that gives it directions on what to do, so,
Why don't we pass those around so that.
so this is
people-
called, this is referred to the, this is referred to as the receiver, and it talks about where neck loop, which is this, and it used to be longer, I don't know why this. Anyway, and it needs to stay in a vertical position to pick up the signal, which is embedded in a big loop around the room. So we're in a vertical position. Hook the headset, and we just got these, hopefully to keep them from coming. I would encourage us to provide these to people so they don't, oops, like this got tangled. For some reason, one side is longer than the other, which seems really weird.
You mean we should take them off of the reel?
Well, that's what I'm suggesting we do for people. We unwrap it for people. And don't let them do it, because if it doesn't come off evenly, they'll just keep pulling on it.
Oh.
And so I would suggest
So we can keep
we
going
uncoil
on
it for
because
someone
it's-
that wants it.
it's just through the-
Oh, the little side.
And then don't just pull on the wire here to pull it out. Just pull it out through, there's a little gap right there.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
anytime you pull something like this, you're gonna
Break the wire.
break the wire there. So then they would plug this in, or you could plug it in and give them the whole thing all in one shot. And they are labeled, not that it really matters, but left and right.
They won't fit right if you don't.
But again, I don't,
They won't fit right.
why would they be different? Guess my left ear is way over here.
Yeah.
Or right ear.
Turn it together.
So, and you could either show or not, depends if they've ever used these before, but these are designed to, hook behind the ear.
Got a flood, got some napkins.
Oh.
And they're easy to, if you open it up, they're easy to, you might slip behind the ear and just,
Oh.
Like
And
those
then
in whispers they
you
use.
turn it on, this button should be pushed down. Otherwise, they'll pick up a lot of extra hum. Yeah.
What should be pushed?
You can tell that right now. And if you go much past 3, I'm close to the end. The sound is better in the middle. You start picking up some hum, the EMF, the electromagnetic interference. If the button's up, it's really loud. But
So
so usually
I want you guys to put them, turn them on.
right
and-
around 2 or 3 works.
And try
best.
that, pushing the button down and up.
Well, we only
on
have,
the
we
receiver.
only have the earphones right now.
Well, where are those other
They're still on their
receivers?
chargers.
I've done this, so.
Oh, we need more of the receivers.
Well, we could just, yeah,
Yeah, button on
pass it
top of it,
and then,
rotate volume. I
but-
recommend
but
keeping
push
volume
the-
at 1 or
try it
lower
on.
until the sound
That's the
starts.
button you push.
yeah.
These
and-
are things you could go over
and
with somebody,
listen,
because
it
you don't want to
makes a
give
big
it to them and have them
difference.
crank the volume all the way to 10, and they
Oh.
sit down and the sound starts, look at the, well, they'll hear a big hum otherwise if they turn it that high.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway, the card has some good explanation on it. And,
But I think trying it,
let me
for me,
go up,
really helped.
let me grab a microphone here.
You can hear it through the room mic. I could hear you talking.
One thing I found out is pretty cool. People that don't, they hold the mic down here. When I turn my hearing aids to telecoil, I can still hear them great.
Oh, yeah.
People in the audience can't hear them
Right.
very well, but.
Yeah, because you've got a volume.
So, testing 1, 2, 3. I'm whispering. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing. Now, the nice thing about, sorry, I should have started. Normal volume for me is loud anyway, probably, because I have to speak loud to hear myself. With telecoils, and people that are hard of hearing sometimes don't recognize that they're even hard of hearing yet, even though they've lost some of the higher pitches usually first as one ages. But what's so nice about telecoils is anytime you have a room with speakers, you get some reverb and bounce going on, unless you've got a really well-designed theater space or something
Even
like
then.
that. But you know, I don't know what it's like at Southeast. There's probably a lot of brick solid walls still around, but anyway, for me anyway, and I've felt this the same with these earpieces. The sound takes off that reverb because it's going straight, in my case, to my hearing aids, and these ear devices theoretically do the same thing. You don't get as much of the rebound, you know, the reverb or the bounce from sound in the room. Now, if I move to the middle of the room with my regular hearing aids, I can hear a little better because, I mean, I can hear okay if the speakers are, I'm in the middle of the speakers. Over here, I don't hear it as well because I'm really picking up just the one speaker mostly. But hopefully you can hear it. And if the button's down, push the button up and you'll hear the extra sound from it. No, there you go. That's what it should be like. The button should be down. You'll notice a difference in the feedback.
Yeah.
Because you should have a lot of hum right now, don't you?
Yeah.
Push it down.
Because I had it down. It picks up the bass.
Yeah.
Pushing it down is a bass cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pushing it down helps reduce that background hum.
Lower.
Even though it's still there if you go louder on the volume. But
Talk to us about when people would use these versus just telling them, we've got a telecoil. Just, if you have telecoils, you don't need this apparatus.
yeah, I mean, that's it. And a lot of people don't know, unfortunately, audiologists in Lincoln don't seem to promote telecoils. I don't know. And that's not just, it's nationwide from talking with other groups and individuals around the country. Who knows why they're stuck on this, not doing it? They don't make extra money on it. I think we're just customers to them. We're not really patients, in my opinion. And yes, I'm being sarcastic because I do not like my audiologist I go to because they have not been willing to do anything about telecoils or hearing loops or anything. Oh, there aren't many hearing loops in Lincoln. People travel.
But
Well,
Harry,
there's new technology coming, so I have to wait to hear better. So yeah, just
my question
Anyway.
is really, do people that have telecoils need this?
no.
This is only for the people that don't have.
Either they're hard of hearing and they would like to try them out even with hearing aids. Now, my old hearing aids, if I put those over my ear, I get a squawk feedback. And newer ones don't seem to do that. Mine don't do that. And if I get really close, like I can make it squawk, but it's not as bad as it was. Most people with hearing aids think they can hear okay, and they can't. I mean, hearing loss is a scale as well, just like eyesight in a way. But people are shy about admitting they have hearing loss.
Harry
They
set
don't
us
try-
up with, when our audiologist, or when our sound person was here, probably we had, what, 10 or 15 people here? And it was amazing to see how different everybody's perception was. And these were mostly people that had hearing loss of some sort. But it seems to be a very individual thing. So hopefully this will help people who don't have hearing aids yet or aren't getting enough boost. Is this helping you, Roger?
Well, I could hear better with it, sure, because if for whatever reason, I mean, typically if the PA is on and it's at a good level, I can hear it. But you can certainly get a boost by using these if for some reason and you probably,
Will it go past one?
yeah, I mean, my problem is sitting in a live situation like this, as far away from you all as I am, like background noise going and everything, I'm like, I can't understand you.
And so when you had this on, could you hear us better just now?
Well, you weren't speaking through microphones and stuff.
It would have been just
Oh.
picking up the room mic.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a
But,
microphone that, you have to be,
So it wouldn't really help in a group
no.
setting
That
like
little
this.
that little device I would bring sometimes,
Yeah.
again, you have to have telecoil, or you could plug in a headset to it. That would help in a setting like this.
Okay. See, we all
But
need
you're
to
still going
learn
through a
about
microphone.
this stuff so we can help people.
So then, so when they bring it back to wind it up, the little slot to poke the end through, and then just gently, I would encourage not just let this dangle. Again, this is the weak point on all of these things,
Oh.
because the wire's so tiny, but I would encourage to set it down, and then just don't crank it tight, just wrap it gently around the thingy. And as I discovered, unwrapping it, this is the one that gets caught as you try to start unwrapping it, because it's longer, which is really weird. Why that would be.
You said they could bring their own hearing aid or earbuds or whatever?
I'm sorry, say
They could bring their own hearing aid or earbuds?
Earbuds?
yes, anything
And
that,
how does that work?
if you get your earbuds, or you got,
You just plug it into the jack.
as long as it has a 3.5 millimeter jack on it, which most headsets and earbuds have.
There's nothing special about these,
Yeah.
other than they're not going
They're
in
like-
your ears.
Yeah.
They're
Oh.
easy to share.
Yeah.
So any
Okay.
sort of headset that has
And the headset we have here would
But you
work.
have to have a cord to
Yeah.
plug it in.
So
You
not the
can't
wireless
glue-
ones.
You can't glue to it.
And then the other thing, I guess, when you get them back, it's not critical for the recharging, but just when you give to something, make sure it's off maybe before you.
Sure.
Oh.
And then explain, if someone's never used it before, make sure they say, well, just turn it on and leave it at 1 until things start,
And
and
so,
then adjust it a little bit to,
You mean this has a battery?
yes, this is a rechargeable battery.
They're rechargeable also.
Yeah.
They fit in our,
Is it the
Correct.
same kind of rechargeable as we have?
I'd have to look, I took it off one time, I think they're AA. I mean, well, they're.
Do they charge on that
Yeah,
base?
this base
Oh.
unit, oh, yeah.
Maybe we ought to
you
go
just
look
set
at
them.
that.
So this cord goes down to the wall here,
Okay.
so they're all plugged
Yeah,
in.
so
Okay,
these
let's
are
see how you're gonna do
rechargeable
that.
here.
And they just plug right into the base.
Does a light turn on?
Yeah,
over
the
there?
light
Oh, I
turns on.
turned on.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys
And
come
it turns
along.
green, there's a basket for the headset thingy.
Headsets here. Yeah, okay. I see. Cool.
Joshua, stick that over there.
We didn't have, our old system was, had a broken antenna on it, and it's an old FM, all we had were little ear plug
Yeah.
thingies, and
Yeah. So this replaces the other
Yeah.
ones.
much better quality. Now the ear set thing with the dinky wires she was surprised too when they came, because she said they used to be more of a headset type thing, or headphone.
Hmm.
They're
Oh.
like the lead has ones that go behind your head, kind of
Yeah.
headphones, and
But those don't
people
fit
don't
all
like
heads,
wearing
so
them. They don't
that's
like to be
actually- that's a
outed by
nice
having hearing
design.
loss and having to wear. People are embarrassed about hearing loss, which is unfortunate.
Well, you're being a good advocate here.
So we have 4 of those.
I'm more embarrassed about not being able to afford the hearing aids.
Yeah. Well, and Costco is cheaper
Yeah.
by a large shot, but Carol Kendrick just got a pair, and Jean went with her, and then they insisted on hearing loops, but they
You
don't
mean
take the telecoils. Yeah, and they say, I'm still mixing it up. Hearing loop was what's put in the floor, the telecoil was inside the hearing aid. The little piece of little wire coil thing.
So if you had that in your hearing aid, you wouldn't have to
Right, yeah.
use any of this, or
Correct.
just the receiver?
None of that.
None of that.
None of that,
This does
if
it.
you have it in your hearing aids.
But would you need to be able to switch something so that the telecoil knows to look for this? Is this the
Yeah.
phone app?
You're asking is the user would have to switch.
What
So,
does-
yeah,
Yeah.
so does the user who has the hearing aids, or like my parent who has the cochlear implant, would they have to switch something?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and they automatically have telecoils in their CI.
She does not, hers are too old. We talked about that when you shared
Interesting.
stuff with me.
Ah, that's too bad.
So what has to happen?
So
on the phone?
mine, I was just talking to Carol, but unfortunately, again, the audio, she needs to go back to Costco and have them show me how to turn on my telecoils, and she should have something on her phone as an app, but I didn't see it offhand, but, so my brand is Unitron, so here I got a Unitron button right here, and when it comes on, it says, it opens up the automatic, which is what I'm on right now. Now, I can go to loop, and I'm at 50%, so the sound changes in my hearing, and I can still have somewhat of a conversation. I can't hear you, that conversation level's less now, because half of the sound's going to the loop. Now I can also go down here and go 100% telecoil, the balance. So if I went back to this way, surroundings, I'm closer to automatic. But if I go at 100% telecoil, now my voice is just totally muffled. It's almost like I'm wearing cotton in my ears or something.
Yeah.
But if I stay in the middle position, I could, anyway. So that feature works. I don't know what the hell restaurant, television, live mute, I've never had those.
Well, you have to try them.
I haven't noticed any difference, so
Oh, okay.
it's just BS, but anyway.
Great. Well,
So-
Harry, thank you. Any
Quick and down and dirty.
questions?
Yep, it's really helpful.
Now, that's easier than
Running the system, I think.
I can work that.
Joshua, do you want to have any more refresher before you actually go live? Let's,
I'll be in sync with you.
okay,
And we'll set something.
good, let's do.
Next week?
Are you
And I
doing
think
it
both
next
of the
week?
ones that I signed up for in August,
That's in
Oh,
August, from what I remember.
yeah,
And-
both of the ones that you signed up for August happen to be the weekends that I signed up for also.
Great.
And-
So I'm happy to
and
be support for that.
Heather is really
Oh,
a good
good.
teacher too.
Good,
So
yeah.
let's, let's do it because I want you to feel really comfortable.
Yeah,
And we could do it now if you wanna stay, or we could, I know it's quite a drive in.
well, I have to be somewhere at 1:30.
Okay, well, you might wanna
Such
have a
pride.
break.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
But-
up to you.
Yeah, I'll set something up with you soon.
Okay.
Well, the only thing, it's good to come by 9 just to get things started, because at 9:30 they've got a meeting in the office for everybody involved in the service. So
Okay.
just if you didn't know that, but.
Yeah, Linda did tell me that.
Which reminds me.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
Cover
yeah,
the
I
piano,
really-
yeah.
Okay, well, is there anything else? I'm looking. Diane and Roger and Joshua have probably not ever set up the slides on the computer first and then the announcement slides using the looping and then going to the YouTube. Is that's the order that you did this morning, I'm presuming, right? I mean, if there's any
Yeah, we
question
set up the
about that,
slides.
it would be kinda nice if we go through some of that, just so everyone is.
And then, of course, I set it up early, and then YouTube went away, so I had to re-log in with it.
Oh, did it log out on you?
Oh, so when I first got here, YouTube was easy to get into, and I was able to get it all set up, and, had it almost ready to start, So we go to the meeting, we come back, and YouTube was logged off, so then I had to log in.
And what time did you first log in? How much time do we have
It
before
was
it
about
logs
10
out?
after, 15 after.
Was it YouTube that logged out, or was it Google that logged out?
Might be. I don't know.
This is the
Yeah,
issue
Google.
that I have run into a couple of times, because I don't know what the time period, but you can only, Google will ask you to re-log in periodically to make sure that it's still you, right?
Mhm.
So
And
this would've
because
been-
we usually log in on Sundays, it usually expires on Sundays. Which is why I often manually log out and then log back in when I
Oh.
start,
Just to avoid that.
just to avoid that. Because it has done that to me a couple of times too. And if it logs out of Google, then it logs you out of YouTube also, because they're all connected.
Oh my God, do you guys understand what she's talking about?
So how are you manually logging?
So the first part was that Google requires you to re-log in periodically to make sure that it's still you. And because we typically are most likely to do this on Sundays and log in on Sundays, we are most likely to be asked for that, to be logged out and to be asked to renew our login on Sundays. Often in that same time period where we are getting ready,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So,
Today.
yeah, so I
And part of
often,
it too is if Jean's doing something, is that, no, that was
No,
different.
that's different.
Sorry.
no, that's a different,
Yeah.
but it's not something that happens consistently, so I don't know that we've ever just made it part of the standard routine. But just me personally, I have run into this often enough that I just start the process when I remember, logging out of Google completely, and then logging back in before I do anything else, because otherwise you have to go back and re-log in.
Elisa and I are gonna get together this week to kind of outline how we're gonna share what needs doing and identify some of these training issues and what kind of documentation, looking at what Larry provided, thinking about Joshua's needs for a real list. And
Well-
this might be what we would want to add as a practice.
And it's one of those things that's not critical, but if you don't know how to do it, sometimes even just figuring out which thing to log out of can be
Yeah,
frustrating.
I was gonna say,
Well,
how do you log
especially
out of
if you're-
Google?
I think he's actually
What is-
opening it and click log out for that that function or the
For
Google.
for
or
the whole, like,
Yeah, but it's not just shutting down through the computer, you're actually logging out before you shut down.
Signing off or
Yeah.
out? That's
It
So
would
the
be
co-
like that.
the computer based, this is a little bit of a simplification, but the computer will hold on to your login even when you turn the computer off.
Yeah.
Because it's not the computer
Right.
that's logging in and out, it's Google.
Yeah.
And when you turn the computer back on, if you when you reopen Chrome or whatever Google program, most of the time you will still be logged in.
Yeah.
Google remembers your machine.
Google remembers your machine. Google is too smart for its own good.
Yes, exactly.
Before I forget, 'cause I gotta get going, Karen's. Did someone turn the projector on? 'Cause it's off.
No,
Larry, you
No,
went
I-
out.
It
Turned
did
the
on.
outside.
I probably
Somebody-
just timed off.
Huh?
Probably
I didn't think it
timed
had a
off.
timer to turn off. Maybe it does. I know the monitor, I know that monitor does.
Yeah, well, it definitely turned off because I saw it turn off.
I was just,
It does time out, actually, because
Does it?
once I was doing, and another thing, these veterinarians had a spay and neuter extravaganza. 200 people are here for dinner. I get this all set up for them in the afternoon, because they come and they cook all the food. I get it all set up, and their slides, they had 200 slides of their good work showing. I go home to eat supper and I come back and it's timed out.
well, if it's actively showing pictures, I
Yeah,
would've
why
thought-
would it do that?
This
Well,
is
because
not in the,
it
It
does
must have
time
a-
out.
It has a time that
I forgot
it'll
about
be on, and no matter if you're using it or not, then it shuts down.
So then I had to restart.
Then you have to
if
turn it
it's
back
showing
on.
slides, I wouldn't think it would turn off. Even if
Well,
it's an
you
automatic.
wouldn't.
Well,
It is possible to look in the settings and to see what it is actually
Yeah.
set to do.
yeah, and remember Roger, you set some settings so that something doesn't shut off as soon as it usually did, but obviously there's so many things to think
Cause I
about.
know I've come in.
You guys, we gotta get out of here, I don't wanna overstep our good humor here. Have a cookie for the road.
Thanks for the goodies.
Certainly.
Yep. Yep. Really together. I think one of these pulls out a little bit.
Actually, it wasn't so bad, but I had to look at it. Just click on sign in and.
Actually,
You know,
there's another one that goes in there. These are on the end.
Yeah, the only problem was, figuring out which account to log in on.
How you been? Good to see you.
Yeah, really good to see you.
Haven't been able to do anything to start on that
Oh, yeah.
xylophone thing at all?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah?
Found material, haven't gotten,
This is,
anything at the
log in on this.
drawing right now, the kind of like, got to skip the research and notes, to just like, show out notes for.
Cool.
Yeah.
So it would be that account.
We gonna need to do any structural work to the frame and all, you think?
I'll look at it, but I don't think so. I think maybe I'll be able to.
Yeah.
You okay doing everything?
I am, not a problem.
Okay.
but I mean, even sitting over in the corner,
I mean, looks like
it's
cheese.
useless.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has an extension thing on it.
Yeah. Missing the create button, on the create button.
Thank you.
So, you know, you get to that screen.
You did, a couple weeks ago.